Camera speed.
Take one.
So let's talk about building story worlds.
Yes.
Where marketers are really getting it, they are investing their marketing dollars to create things that are longer than a campaign, longer than an advertising cycle.
Well, a campaign fits neatly into the business schedule, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the audience attention or what they care about or their own timeline.
Yes. The campaign, as we all create them, fits within the fiscal quarter of delivering the goods of whatever
here's
we
what
need
we're
to.
doing this month.
That's right, but it's just a chapter in the story.
Yes.
It's just a piece of the puzzle. And I think that as we start to look at story and we think about chapters, not channels, then we're getting somewhere. What is the way that we can extend it beyond the thing at hand?
Let's talk more.
Let's do that.
So, Derek, we care a lot, and in fact, we're here to talk about and to really delve into storytelling, corporate narrative, content. Content is how we do all this stuff. Talk to me about how this actually works in practice, because there's a story world that you're creating.
You use the right word. You're creating a story world. There's a universe of content to be created. Brands are thinking about creating content in a way that really values the intellectual property of what they're generating.
There are several aspects of that that to me are really fundamentally important. One is the idea that the story world actually ties to something really concrete. It's the brand value or perception, which ironically enough is not something people really think of as being concrete. And yet in many ways, when it's well defined, it feels very tangible.
If you have an audience that actually cares about what you're doing, they don't want it to be a one-way street. They don't want it to be brand message, brand message, brand message. They want it to be a conversation. The brands who are understanding attention in that same way and that are building their universes, building through a transmedia lens, having their brand show up in different places in different ways that you'd not expect, they're going to win. If you do an ad campaign that runs for a month, it's an ad campaign that runs for a month. Then we got to do the next ad campaign. If we create persistent characters, worlds, intellectual property the way that a movie franchise does or a gaming franchise does, every year it builds upon itself. Like brand, content can be a long-term investment that can be built upon itself, but only if the brand is authentically showing up in a space and creating a world that can have that long tail.
You talk about this as intellectual property. Intellectual property is something businesses invest in, they understand as a business asset, and they look to not only manage that investment, but manage the return that they get on that investment. It's the shift from marketing as creating sales to marketing as part of how you build customer lifetime value.
Storytelling's been around since fire. We tell stories. That's what we do as human beings. If we start to think about storytelling just at its purity, it doesn't matter what the channel is. We need to invest in the story, allowing it to propagate in the places it will show up. We need to invest in technology that allows us to do that seamlessly and faster. And then we need to have a longer tail in terms of if we're going to the trouble of creating this story, and we know it's for this specific use on this channel, for this date, for this program or campaign, what marketers need to think of is what's next. If you think about what's next every single time, your campaign won't end on the campaign date. You'll be able to revisit, where are they now? Maybe it's a customer story. What customer stories did you generate last year? Have you come back to them? Whether it's B2B or B2C marketing, it doesn't matter. If we think about our audiences that we've built, what do they want to hear? What do they want to see? How do we want to interact with them? Then some new possibilities will emerge.
What's the real life experience? Derek, thank you. This has been great.
My pleasure.